Hi, I'm Tom from the Self-Publishing Formula, and this video is all about why you should be writing in a series. Keep watching. Now, I have two favourite authors. One of them is Stephen King, who has written about 60 different novels, and pretty much all of them are standalone with a few little exceptions. And the other favourite author of mine is Terry Pratchett, who is a British author of fantasy novels. And his series called the Discworld series has 41 books in it that are all fairly directly connected to one another, sharing the same universe. Now, most indie authors, not all, but most, write in series, even if their books can be read as standalone. And now, if you're new to the self-publishing industry, you may be asking yourself why that is. There are plenty of big, well-named authors in the literary world who only write standalone books. As I've said, Stephen King, Neil Gaiman, and they do fantastically well, even though their books aren't connected to one another. Well, in the indie world, there are 3 B's to keep in mind. That's brands, backlists, and box sets. Number 1, brands. Well, you could argue that even though big name authors like Stephen King don't write in brands, they have themselves almost become brands. That's no more obvious than in the current wave of Stephen King adaptations for film. Like, people are banking on the fact that Stephen King's name, rather than necessarily the book itself, will bring people to the cinemas. In the same way, if you enjoyed one Neil Gaiman book, you know that you're going to enjoy his next book, even though it will be a completely different story, because it's his style of writing that you're a fan of. And people love brands. Harry Potter, James Bond, The Fast and the Furious, the ever-growing Marvel Cinematic Universe. And look at the way that we consume media on things like Netflix. We don't want to be drip-fed episodes week after week for months. We want to have it all in one go, and we want to consume it as fast as we possibly can. So how can you take advantage of that kind of consumer behaviour in regard to writing books? Well, by writing in a series. It's easier to get someone to buy a book in something they already know they're a fan of than to get them to try something new. But branding isn't the only reason. And that brings us on to part 2. Backlists. As you may have gathered from your indie author journey already, having a sizable backlist is all important. It can help turn a negative cost per click into a positive one. People buying a cheap 99p book or even downloading a freebie will then go on to buy more of your books, generating a total profit. Writing in a series not only makes it potentially easier to build up that backlist, but it makes it easier and removes another hurdle for your reader to access more of your books. Your reader doesn't need to take a gamble on a news story from you when they already know they'll enjoy more of the same series they're reading. And that's not all. It also makes it easier for you to direct your reader to the next book. Take Amazon, for example. You can link books in a series together so that they all have their own series page. It's a lot easier for your reader to go, oh, I like the first one, I'll buy number 2, than it is to click on your author page, scroll through, and try to find something that they might like. Number 3, box sets. If the other 2 reasons don't have you convinced, this one will, because it helps you make more money. Let's say you have 3 books, each priced at $3.99. They're all in a series. Now that's 3 different points of revenue, and you will most likely, if a reader buys each one individually, make more money than you would in a box set. But that's also 3 different points when a reader could turn around and go, you know what, no, I'll just buy myself a coffee instead. But if you combine all 3 of those books into an $8.99 or even a $9.99 box set, although a fractionally smaller amount of royalty can be gained from that, there's only one point of purchase. They either buy or they don't. And that helps with advertising, because turning a profit when advertising a $3.99 or even $4.99 book can be hard. Normally you need a cheap cost per click and a fairly high turnover of people actually buying your book in order to make a profit. But those risks are diminished when selling a pricier product like a box set. If you're spending $5 a day on advertising and you're making, let's say, $3 from in royalty from a box set, you only need to sell 2 box sets to turn direct immediate profit, and that's before taking into account the Kindle page reads, or any read through that you might get. So there you have it. 3 reasons why you should be writing in a series: brands, backlists, and box sets. Of course, there are a lot of indie authors who make tons of money selling lots of books that are all standalone. And there are plenty of readers who much prefer standalone books to ones in a series. And one last thing before you go. Do you find it easier to write books in a series? Or have you found more success writing standalone stories? Let us know in the comments below.